Hello, my friends. This is Doug Fabian. Welcome to my weekly ETF report. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today is Thursday, March 5th, 2015. Three things to talk about as always. Let me comment first just for a moment or two on the U.S. markets, the U.S. financial markets. I just looked at my Bloomberg screen and saw that the S&P 500 so far in 2015 is up just a little over 2%. Other major averages, the NASDAQ a little bit better, small caps a little bit worse, but 2% nonetheless, not a bad start for the year. I looked at the bond market, which was red hot in January, pulled back in February, but the bond market is measured by long-term treasury bonds, the ETF, TLT, up about 1% so far this year. Everything is stable relative to the U.S. stock market, but I do expect some of the headwinds of a stronger U.S. dollar, a very difficult winter on the East Coast, and the fall in oil prices, positive in some respects, but it's going to have some employment issues as we go through the course of this year. So as I said at the beginning of the year, U.S. markets are okay, but there's better opportunities overseas. And that brings me to point number two. Now, I'm going to take this slow and easy, but again, one of the great advantages of exchange-traded funds is the ease in which we can invest overseas and how we can tailor the overseas investments to some very specific countries. And today I want to talk about India. Now, from your geography, you'll know that India is a very large country, second most populous country in the world. But what you might not know is that India has got some great demographics. 25% of the population in India is under age 25. And if you look at economics and demographics, India really is going to be a strong growth economy over the next decade, even stronger than China, because China's got some demographic problems. It's one child policy in China is actually hurting its demographic picture over the next decade or so. So I want to take you through a few charts relative to India. The first is just a chart, three-year chart of the iShares India Fund. And as you can see from this chart, over the last 3 years, 2 of those years, or half of this period, India's been going down. Its low was in September of 2013, and then it started a new uptrend. Now, the point I want to make here is that India had a fabulous year last year, up more than 30%. In nominal terms. India is up another 10% so far this year. You might take a look at that and go, Doug, boy, that market is too red hot. I want to tell you that this low that we had in September of 2013 was a bear market low. And bull markets last 3 to 5 years. So I'm saying that India has a lot of growth potential going forward, even though it had a great year in 2014 and it's doing great again this year. So I really want you to focus in on putting some India exposure in your portfolio. The second chart I have here shows you since the beginning of 2014, the relative performance of India versus the S&P 500. Now, the S&P 500's done pretty well over the last 15 months. It's up some 17%, but India's up double that, 35%. Again, I know that you're thinking, Doug, is India going to correct, or am I going to, be buying too high? I don't think so. I think that we're in a long-term bull market in India, and I think that you ought to get on board. The third slide I have for you is a table of India exchange-traded funds. Now, there are a number of ETFs here, some of them the broad indexes, some of them small cap. I've given you some different columns. First, the ticker symbol of the ETF. Second, the name of the ETF. Third, the 2014 performance of the ETFs, and then how they've done so far this year and the number of assets in each of these exchange-traded funds. You know, there is not a significant difference in performance between all these different exchange traded funds. Small caps, of course, in bull markets, small caps have a tendency to outperform large caps, but so far this year, the small caps are underperforming a little bit. So I really don't care which India ETF you choose. All of them are doing good. But I'm encouraging you, I'm pleading with you to take a good hard look at what's going on in India, think long term, think in terms international, think in terms emerging markets, and getting some exposure. I'll leave you this one last point on India. This decline in oil prices is so good for the Indian economy. So take a good hard look at India and the ETFs that are available. Last subject of the day is to talk about all the things that I'm doing at ETFU.com. First of all, in the month of March, and as we're going into April, we are launching our nationally syndicated radio show, ETF Strategies with Doug Fabian. We're going to be picked up on the Wall Street Radio Network, which has 10 radio stations around the country. Now, those of you who watch my videos each week, and you know, if my radio show is in a market and you don't live in that city, hey, if you go to ETFU.com and you become a member, each week I will send you a link to my radio broadcast. The good news is I'm going from a half-hour show to a 1-hour show, and I'm going to be giving you more content, more ideas, interviews from ETF specialists, ETF providers, ETF experts. We're just going to be doing more and more in the world of exchange-traded funds because I am on a mission. And the mission is to bring this revolution of exchange-traded fund investing to everyone in America. And I believe that the website, etfu.com, the radio show, the podcast, ETF Success with Doug Fabian, these weekly broadcasts, my editorial, all of these things are going to help you become a better ETF investor. So do me a favor. Become a member of etfu.com. It is free. All you need is your email address and you become a member instantly. And then one more thing. If you like what I'm doing, tell a friend. Tell a friend about what we're doing. Lastly, I'll just say this. If you have a question for me, please send me an email. It's askdoug@dougfabian.com. Send me your ETF questions and I'll do my best to get them answered quickly and also talk about them in my multimedia platforms. This is Doug Fabian. Thanks so much for tuning in.